showcase, that's a place to be. Stomping grounds to the sounds of the great MCs. Dawns and divas, turning plays into believers. We leaders, what's he, us and my G, yes. And yo, I'm rolling with Darlene, who got the hottest showcase from here to them shows in the Bronx and Queens. From Staten to Brooklyn, I rep Manhattan, uptown fashion. We laughing, having a blast, and I'm asking, can we get it popping and cracking? Kick back and just listen to the songs that we rapping. The notes they hit, the loud crowd reactions is guilty. Now back to the one who made it happen.
So you wanna be a celebrity? Come get with me on 59th Street. You wanna be a celebrity? Come get with me on 59th Street. You wanna be a celebrity? Come get with me on 59th Street. You wanna be a celebrity? Come get with me on 59th Street. Hi, I'm Darlene Lewis. Welcome to another episode of Celebrity Showcase TV. Today, my guest is the one and only Kurt Woodley, music exec. I'm looking forward to talking with him. I've known him for several decades, and it's a pleasure to be able to say that I can consider him a friend. So make sure you guys get your coffee, get your tea, and get prepared, because this is going to be one of the most informative television programs that I've done so far. Now, in case you don't know who Kurt Woodley is, he is an executive, of course. You know him as being the one half of, or actually 1/3 of JDW, which stood for Reggie Johnson, Charlie Davis, and Kurt Woodley. I don't really like the way these ring lights reflect in my glasses, and so hopefully it won't be a distraction for some of you. I'll probably just tilt my head that way. Yeah. So some of the music that Kurt has been involved with is definitely legendary. I mean, the Mary J. Blige Project, Chef Fred, Father MC, Jodeci. He's helped tremendous artists, Arts and Craft, Big L, my little buddy, and so many others. He's even helped me with some girl groups that I was putting together. I'll never forget him giving me the actual demo cassette that belonged to Adina Howard with the songs produced by Livio Harris. And my girl groups did their best to mimic those songs. And unfortunately, the girl groups broke up. The rap groups broke up. I mean, this music industry in the late 80s, early 90s was something. It was very competitive. People were very talented, however. People were extremely, extremely talented. And unfortunately, a lot of the groups didn't take the music industry seriously. They just wanted to get in, make money like most of the people do today, but they don't want to put in the work. And with the music industry, it's not just about talent. As Gene Griffin once told me in Peaches when we were signing with him, he said the music industry is 90% business, 10% talent. Okay? 10%. So that goes to show you why today you'll see a lot of artists that aren't that talented, but they have what we call a look, or they appeal to the masses, or record companies use them to fulfill, an obligation, or they may use them to redo songs that already existed that's making money. So, yeah, a lot of times the music industry is just here today and gone today. Now with social media, you have to constantly keep reinventing yourself, because it's not like before where you'd have like an album, you'd have like 10 songs, and like maybe an album could last like 2 years. Like, you know, record companies would release 1 or 2 or 3 songs, you know, a year, and then you ride that wave. You do concerts, you do movies or commercials or television shows. You appear on television shows. Nowadays, these record companies are putting this music out, seem like every week. So by the time you get to enjoy one song, you have to deal with another. But the music industry has turned into more than a cash cow. And my guest, Kurt Woodley, is on the air with me now. Kurt, I don't see you. I just see your name, and that's not good. Can you hear me? Okay, he's connecting to audio. I don't know what's going on. All right, Kurt, I see you in here, but I don't see. Hey, Kurt, can you hear me? Hey, Kurt, there you are. Can you hear me? I don't hear you, Kurt. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Can you hear me? Come on, Kurt. Unmute yourself. I see you, but I don't hear you. Okay, it's coming. Hold on. It said it's connecting to audio. Okay, you should hear me now. Hey, Kurt.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Kurt, yeah. How you doing? Long time no see. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm doing good. What's going on?
Listen, I'm just here, you know, at Celebrity Showcase TV. And you know, we've been doing Celebrity Showcase TV now since 2004. So
Okay, well,
yeah, since 2000.
20 years, right?
20 years. But prior to that, when I met you, I was doing another show called On Broadway. That was like from 85 to like 90 something. And
Okay.
so, you know, so most of that footage contains people that became famous. And that's a whole nother story. But hey, welcome to Celebrity Showcase TV. And I was talking to the viewing audience a little bit about the business of music. And I wanted to talk to you in general because there are a lot of trends that's going on in the music industry right now. And the style is different. The way it's marketed is different. And I wanted your opinion, but before that, I want you to tell my viewing audience a little bit more. I've already given them like a heads up, but I want to know. You disappeared. Where'd you go? Okay, there you are.
I dropped the phone for a second. I'm good now.
You good?
Yep.
One thing I love about streaming. Oh, I have a guess. What the heck? Okay, I don't know. Somebody's trying to get in. Anyway, okay, I don't know what's going on. Somebody's trying to come in here. That's one thing. With this I don't know who that is. But anyway, I'm not inviting them in. But did you tell people that you were coming on? You're frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
So tell my viewing audience and listening audience, because I'm going to also upload this to my podcast, which is on Spotify, and it's also on 9 platforms. So
Okay.
it's seen everywhere. But tell my viewing audience how you got involved with entertainment.
Well, actually, I went to play basketball and I wasn't that good. So I went to a school called Brockport State And I kind of made the team, but I realized basketball wasn't going to be the same. And I wound up transferring to Lehman College. And when I went to Lehman, I bumped into a guy named Andre Harrell. I thought he was somebody that went to my high school, but he wasn't. But we became friends anyway because we were in the same Black Studies class. And he told me he was a rapper. So he used to wear like suspenders and bow ties. I said, a rapper? You don't look like a rapper, but he rapped. And one time I went out to a party with him in Harlem, and they treat him like a VIP. Free this, free that, whatever you want to do. VIP area, buckets or whatever, like champagne. I was like, yo, I got to be down with this. So basically, eventually I became his road manager, and I kind of got in the game that way. Then Andre realized he wasn't a great rapper. So he felt he would be better behind the scenes. So maybe within a year or two after Jekyl and Hyde's second album, he worked with Russell over at Def Jam. He went to Def Jam, he had brought me with him. And I was an intern. I had a chance to see everything kind of like a fly on the wall. Because I was like this young guy just hanging out. I would just deliver messages, but every once in a while, they would give me a real job to do. And I had the opportunity to see LL Cool J in the very beginning. Like LL used to actually ride on the train with his box. He used to bring his box with him and come to the office and have his Kango hat. He used to actually carry that box. I saw the Beastie Boys in the beginning, Run DMC when they first started out, Houdini. Like Houdini was the coolest guys ever. They didn't move around like they were stars. They were just like regular cats. And it was a little different then. Like it wasn't as like celebrity driven as it is now. Today, the money's so big. You got cars, private planes. It's just then like everybody kind of had the same cars. They were making good money, but nothing outrageous. But everybody was cool with each other. Like you could be the messenger and you cool with the guy who's on the stage. So it was a lot more of a family thing back then.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that he hooked up with Russell, but this was during the Rush management times?
Yeah. Actually, Russell had a company called Rush First. It was Rush Management. And he was a manager. And I would say he probably managed maybe like 30% of all the artists that were big at the time. Houdini was on the roster, LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, who else? LL Cool J. I can't remember everybody. It was like almost 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But if you was a hot rapper in the New York area, you were down with Rush. And then Cold Chilling kind of came a little bit later. And Andre started his company Uptown a little bit down the road. But, Def Jam was the place to be.
I remember in 1984, my sister-in-law, Carol Lewis, she knew Andre from a radio station. And she gave me his number. And we talked for like 1 hour. And he said that he was starting a label called Uptown. And he was talking about Heavy D, like when nobody knew about him. Like he was saying, yeah, I got this guy named Heavy D and blah, blah, blah. Because at the time I was doing the TV show, he used to call me Video Girl. And
Okay.
then one day we met up, and come to find out, I knew him from Ronnie Green.
Yeah.
So it was like a circle. And so he was telling me, come down to a studio called Green Street. I think it was called Green Street or.
There was a studio named Green Street back in the day. Yep.
So he said he was working on Allison Williams' album, and he heard some lyrics that I had written, and he said, I want you to come down there and teach her that song. And Vinnie Bell was working with him. And I hooked up with this singer trying to help her, Gina, who we wound up getting lost, and I never made the session. He was upset with me for years. For years. He was like, every time I would see him, he would be like, Video Girl. you don't want this. And I was like, oh man, I screwed up, man. And so I promised myself that I would never ever let anybody distract me again. It was really an opportunity that I blew. And I never
Wow.
forgot that. I never forgot that.
Interesting story. Wow.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, he talked to me for 1 hour. And if I was, I was at work at the time. I was working for Department of Environmental Protection. I had wrote one song that Richie Weeks and Patrick Adams had produced. It was called The A Train, and I had this artist named Michael B rap on it. And that's how Andre knew that I was a writer. But anyway, so go ahead. You just brought me back when you start talking about Dre.
Yeah. So basically, Andre felt that Def Jam was more of kind of like the rough edge, the street of hip hop. He wanted to have more of the middle of the road mainstream hip hop. If you looked at Hev was kind of like the working man's rapper. Like if you ever go up to Mount Vernon back in the day, the majority of people they worked blue collar jobs, they worked, they bought houses. A lot of people from the West Indies,
Mm-hmm.
and Haitian and Trinidadian, and so on and so forth. And basically, Dre understood that culture a little bit more than the LL Cool J's and the Run DMCs. So when we have Bought Heaven, a lot of people didn't get him. Matter of fact, he was supposed to sign with Russell first. Andre was the vice president. Hev came up. Russell didn't like Hev. He didn't really get it. So Andre said, well, come with me. I'm starting my own company. And he was the first hit record we had, Mr. Big Stuff.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
It's amazing. So then you moved on to that. Then you brought in other artists. Because I remember you used to work with Arts and Craft and Father MC.
Okay, so let me tell you how that went. When I started out with Dre, it was myself, Andre Harrell, of course, he was the president and chairman, Jimmy Jenkins, Gary Harris, God bless his soul, and there was a young lady named Kim Brathwaite. She was the administrator. And that was like, there was like 4 or 5 people when we first started. The first artist that we signed was Heavy, but we had the Brothers Black, Vanilla Quest, and Woody Rock. Heavy came out first and did great. He was doing really well. Woody did okay. Vanilla Quest actually did decent, but not huge numbers. And I think Woody Rock came out and didn't do that great. And the Brothers Black, I don't know if they ever had a chance to actually have their records released. But after we released all those records, it was a big gap in between Heavy's Mr. Big Stuff and then the record that came next. So MCA was like, look, guys, you're not making any money. You did okay with Hev. And that was just a single. The album didn't come out till later. They kind of pulled the plug on us. People don't know this, but after Hev came out, we released those other records. We couldn't get any more money from MCA. I'll never forget this. One time, Dre said, guys, I got to talk to you. It was myself and Jimmy. And he brought us down to the basement of the office. And I was like, oh my God, please don't let this end. Please don't let this end. I could smell, I could feel there was money problems. And Dre said, look, man, and he had tears in his eyes. The most I could pay y'all is $120 a week. That's it. And things are messed up, but I'm going to keep it going. All I didn't care. As long as the party wasn't going to stop, I didn't care. He could have paid us $12 a week. I was just happy he was going to keep going. And then, God bless, about 2 months later, there was this thing called the Sony Innovators Award. And Alvin Shaw was kind of like a roadie for Heavy. He used to actually carry the turntables and the boxes and stuff. Yeah, he was like a roadie.
Really?
So what happened was Heavy couldn't make a session one day. So it was like damn near a whole day. So Al called Andre and said, yo, can we record? They went in and they recorded a couple of records. And Dre was like, yo, this off on your own, girls. It's not bad. This is pretty good. Who did this? It's me and my cousin Kyle. They went back in, they tightened the record up. He sent the record to Quincy. I guess, Quincy liked this image, the vibe, his light-skinned cap with the hair and all that stuff, So they won the Sony Innovators Award. And then Warner Brothers picked it up and boom. Then what happened after that was Warner Brothers wanted to do a bigger deal through Benny Medina. At that time, MCA and Warner Brothers were foes. Like it was Columbia Records, Warner Brothers, and MCA. And they kind of had like this rivalry. So basically, MCA said, look, don't go to Warner Brothers, stay with us. So what happened was one time I was in Harlem and I saw Teddy Riley. I said, Ted, Andre and them getting ready to do some big things, bro. You need to go over there. About 2 or 3 days later, he drove out to Brooklyn, sat down with Dre, and he played God. And, they wound up signing God. And that was like, I think God was our next big hit.
So you were an A&R?
Okay, I'm gonna explain that. When I first got to Uptown, I was basically like just doing everything. Kurt, we got to have this delivered. Kurt, do this. And then he said, Kurt, I want you to work in publicity. I'm gonna say publicity is tough. If you're not made for that business, if you're not made for that sector in the music business, it's not gonna work. And I was also Heavy's road manager. Now, what happened was they had a guy they promised a job, but they thought that I was just going to be working in the office. So Eddie said, well, Kurt, we got that job as a road manager for somebody else. I said, yeah, I can still do it, but how you going to do both? So basically I had to come off the road. I was horrible as a publicist. I couldn't do publicity for doodle. Like, I was terrible because this wasn't my style of thing. So Trey said, okay, Kurt, why don't you do this? There's a box of tapes. I need you to listen to all those tapes, pick out the stuff you thought was pretty good. I said, okay, cool. So about 3 or 4 days later, I played 2 tapes. Those 2 tapes, one of them was EPMD. The other tape was Renee and Angela. He didn't like both of them. He said, look, but they're pretty good, but they're not what I want to sign. But Kurt, this should be your job, right? And I said, well, what's the title? He said, I think it's A&R. It could have been R&A, A-B. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to work. And that's how I started in A&R.
So wait, so that's how Russell got EPMD?
No. Russell got, you know what's funny? I heard that tape. I'm going to say it might have been like 85, 86, 85. EPMD didn't get a deal. It's like 87.
So they were on. Oh, hello. We have a guest in the building. You have to mute yourself, okay? Mute yourself. Thank you. We're on with Kurt Woodley. So you said that EPMD went to Rush.
Yeah, but that was years later. And it just shows you how long sometimes it could take to get a deal. Because I heard that tape, I'm going to say 85, 86. They didn't get a deal. It's like 87, 88.
Wow. So he held on to them for those amount of years?
No, we passed on it.
No, I'm talking about Russell. Didn't he have
Russell? They didn't get to Russell till about 2 years later.
Because I saw something that said 4th and Broadway, I think, when we was younger.
Matter of fact, you're right. They had signed the 4th and Broadway, but that was years later. And then eventually, I think Russell got a hold of them.
Wow.
And they signed, so I think they signed the Def Jam eventually. Matter of fact, they were on Def Jam eventually. You're right. You originally were on 4th and Broadway.
Right. See, I have a very good memory. Okay.
But they didn't get the 4th and Broadway until like maybe a couple of years later.
Wow. And see, that goes to show you how long it took back then for artists to really, get on, because it seems like they don't have artists in development now.
Nope.
They don't. Like, you could tell, like, people are so raunchy and so unprepared. They're not media savvy. But anyway, we'll get into the future. So then, okay, so you're with Uptown. I remember you taking me and another person to see Albie Shaw perform. I think it was the Red Parrot.
Yeah.
And I was like, he does not sound like the record. I was like, what's wrong with his voice? it seemed like his voice was very weak in person. And I think y'all sold him on his looks.
Well, I mean, I'll say this much. Basically, during those days, that was kind of like the beginning of able to take a vocal from A to Z. So you didn't have to be the greatest singer because of auto-tune and other techniques. You could make people sound better. But a lot of artists, you know, they would sing live. So I think the problem was a lot of artists, this was the beginning of people going straight into like a studio. You know what I mean? Not writing a song pre-studio. Back in the day, like in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they would actually work on songs in the pre-studio first.
Right.
Guitars and microphones and, you know, basically have a whole band.
Right.
And you could do everything on a drum machine. So you could actually just do everything in the house. Go ahead, bring it to the studio, and knock it out. And you would use the reverb and other gadgets to go ahead and fix up the voice. But what happened was when you started hitting the chitlin circuit, where they didn't have all that reverb and all that other stuff, you had to sing on a regular mic. Maybe if you were lucky, they had a little bit of auto-tune, but you know, if you really couldn't click it, it was tough. And I don't think it was really fair to artists, but that's how this worked out. There's a few people, you know, they would sound incredible on the record. And when they hit the stage, they didn't sound the same. I'm not going to blame that totally on the artist because I think that record labels should have had more of a practice before they actually started hitting stages.
So now, okay, so you guys get I'll Be Sure a deal. When did Jeff Red come about?
Okay. Jeff Red came in the third wave. So you had I'll Be Sure, and you had Guy, right? And then you kind of have Father MC. This third wave was actually Father's part of the third wave was Father MC, Jeff Red, and Mary J. Blige. A friend of mine, this is funny, like there's a gentleman named Reggie Johnson, and I got a real loud voice. I was talking to this girl and I'm boasting and bragging about, yeah, I'm doing this record stuff and blah, blah, blah. I was right on Fulton Road. And I guess you could probably hear me from blocks because Reggie was across the street. And he said, yo, man, I heard you talk about you in the music business. I said, yeah, I'm working with this company called Uptown.